I'm just gonna get another backup recording going here real quick on the phone. Right, good afternoon, Chair, would you like to kick us off?
Yeah, so I think I heard you make the announcement about this meeting being recorded, correct?
Yeah,
Okay,
that's
if not,
actually great.
if not, it's been double stated. Welcome everyone to the Clackamas County Solid Waste Commission meeting for May 8th. We'll start off with introductions, and then I can maybe start with myself. Will, since you're online, we can go to you, and then we can maybe go around the room, starting at the front of the table. My name is Chad Euler. I'm the chair of this commission and a resident of Sandy. Well, over to you, if you're able.
My name is Will Matthias. I am CFO of the all representative on the commission.
We're having a little trouble hearing you, Will, just a heads up.
So Will's with B&B Leasing, so Oregon City Garbage, Molalla, Sanitary, and Gladstone Municipal.
Okay. Maybe Rick, for you.
Yeah.
And
Rick Winterhalter, Manager of Sustainability and Solid Waste.
Julie Hamilton, Clackamas County Public Health. I'm Dawn Lewis, one of the commissioners. Chris Lamar, one of the commissioners.
Carlton Palmer, WM Industry Representative.
Kate Taylor, County Staff.
Oh, and Angela Gogol, staff.
Angela Dunham, staff.
do we want to do introductions on the folks on the wall there as well, or?
Sure, I'm one of the people on the wall. That's Morgan Steichen, or with the Clackamas County Refuse and Recycling Association.
Neil Bissett of the Clackamas County Sustainability Staff.
Chris Wright with Waste Connections, Cape Waste Services.
Okay, looks to me like everyone. Thank you all. First, our next item on the agenda is going right into our filling our open vice chair position. So we need to do an election. Have we received any nominations prior to this meeting?
I have not received anything at this time.
Okay. Do we have anyone in the room that wishes to self-nominate or nominate someone else eligible?
Not all at once.
I typically would, but I do go to school full time and
Yeah.
work full time. Okay.
All right, also.
Okay, sorry, who is that? I've got a little bit of an echo. Forgive me. My audio is not great. Chris, okay. All right, so we have a self-nomination by Chris. Anyone want to second that nomination?
I'll second.
All
Okay.
right. Second.
Okay, we have a self-nomination. We have a second. All in favor, raise your hand.
It's the easiest selection I never read.
And then all opposed? Any opposed?
So what's it? 2, 4.
And we'll raise his hand via Zoom.
So we have first, and I'm just trying to count correctly. So I'll just write all in favor.
All in favor.
Put that on the agenda.
Right.
Okay. Okay. I think that concludes that matter. Thank you, Chris, for filling the much needed role.
When does
They have it on Tuesday.
Third item on our list was to approve the March 4th meeting minutes. They're not ready as of this meeting, so we'll, I think, do we have an estimation of when we can review those?
Yeah, definitely early next month.
Early next month, okay. Do we have it from the staff? Do we have any potential upcoming items that we'll need to meet for outside of this meeting? I'm just wondering if we try to approve those offline or if we have an opportunity coming up in the next few months that we could review them and approve as a group.
Yeah, so we could do it over email, or we could do it in September. We're aiming for our next meeting to be in September. So it's
Okay.
whatever you all prefer.
Okay. I would suggest we just try to approve by email then, so that it's somewhat timely and we don't drag it way out.
Okay.
Okay. All right, next and main item on our agenda is the annual review of our county waste collection system.
Yeah, thank you, Chad.
Mhm.
So the goal here is really to provide the vast majority of the time for commissioners to consider what has been provided in the staff report. And then decide what option you'd like to move forward with, but I just wanted to provide some background before we got started. So for me, it's always helpful to kind of know why and what, and so this is an annual review of the production records of our franchise haulers, our franchise collectors, and it's a process that we value greatly. And the goal here is to ensure that services are provided to the community safely, efficiently, cost effectively, and in a manner that supports the benefits of recovering materials from the system. Also, the goal is to establish fees charged for the variety of services required by the county and to ensure fair returns for collectors. So the goal here of the many goals, right, is to keep fees and real costs aligned. So we get guidance from our county code on this process, and county code allows us to give consideration to all costs of collection, investment in trucks and equipment, and management and administrative costs when determining fees. It also allows for a reasonable return in operating margin for the owners of the businesses. So who comes to that table? That includes Clackamas County staff, our rate consultant, it's also CPA, our franchise garbage and recycling companies, and Clackamas County Refuse and Recycling Association. And then we work with Solid Waste Commission to get a pulse on the community. So everybody's at the table for this. So this year went through adjustments and then moved forward to projections, also considered estimates. And as always, we had a healthy back and forth around adjustments. Hard work was certainly put in by staff, consultants, and collectors to try to get it right. There's a lot of effort put in to get this right. Along those lines, we have the policy that the acceptable range, so I was mentioning code earlier, the acceptable range that we work within is 8 to 12%. Then with a target return on the composite of about 10%. When we're doing our estimates, we only look back and then we're making projections based on known measurables. So this year, the proposed fee increase includes the following known measurables. The first one is disposal, which hot off the press, that amount may be changing, the increase in the metro tip fee may be changing, and so that will be addressed by staff, and we will make any adjustments necessary. But one of the primary known measurables is disposal. The next bucket is labor, and we did look at driver labor and also office labor. And then fuel, there was a sunsetting of CNG fuel tax credit, and so that has been taken into consideration as well. So with those known measurables, the proposed fee increase across carton container collection, that would range between 3.6% and 5.8%. And so looking at the residential cart, for example, based on a 35 gallon urban, that would be like $1.55 a month is what we're looking at in urban. For commercial customers, the cost per yard increase would be $1.28. And across the zones, that looks like a 3.9 to a 5.8% increase for commercial. Dropbox, we are looking at increases in our standard Dropbox, the open box, also the compacted box. And that ranges from 2.3 to 3.3. And then we're also looking at a rental fee increase for Dropbox.
You see, Rich,
Yes, the rental fee for Dropbox is based on the rising costs of Dropboxes themselves. So with all that, the three options before you all today are to number one, maintain fees at current levels until 2026. In this scenario, the 2025 estimated composite return will fall at the bottom of the 8 to 12% acceptable range. Option two would be to increase the fees for carts and container and Dropbox as proposed effective July 1, 2025. In this scenario, the estimated 2025 total county composite will be within the range, slightly above the 10% target. And then option three is for you all to propose an alternative to options 1 and 2. And we're also proposing, I'm sure you saw in the staff report, we're also proposing changes to to our transfer station fees. But we thought it would be best to deliberate about this piece first, and then my manager Rick would deliver that piece separately. So I'd like to turn it over to you all for discussion and questions.
Just to clarify, you're proposing we make a decision on the fees separate from the Sandy collection facility, and then make a decision on that second?
Yes,
Okay. Thank you.
if that resonates with you, Chair.
No, that's fine. I just wanted to make sure I comprehended what you were saying. Okay. Do we have any comments or questions in the room? Or Will? If none, and I see none, I actually do have a couple questions I'd like to ask.
Okay.
Just wanted to make sure I read or understood the waste fee increase that you had mentioned. Now I'm struggling to find it in the notes here. Okay, so it says a 8.9% increase in disposal expenses. And
Yes, yeah.
when is, and then there was a comment below that suggests that's not official or may change. Is that the same increase in expenses, or is 8.9% a known increase that's already happened and there's yet another increase that's being deliberated on by council?
That's a great question. Thank you, Chair. So that is what I was mentioning earlier. So that ties to the Metro tip fee, and it is not finalized yet. So we were estimating based on what was being proposed by Metro staff, we were estimating 8.9. And it's looking like that may change based on a meeting this morning. And so we wrote in there, we would adjust as needed because it is not a known entity, not a known, fully known thing. We know it's happening. It's just a matter of a few weeks before we know, about a week.
Okay, what if we recommend the proposed fees and it changes, what's the adjustment that you guys would make?
So if it is lower, then we would need to adjust for that and change the fee increase proposed.
Okay, so we would potentially, based on what Metro does, if it's notably different, we would reconvene and revisit this
Well, the
discussion.
goal, what we're hoping, the hope is that we can approve or look at the idea that this is a known thing that's happening. And then if what comes in, what has been coming in at 8.9 comes in lower, or higher, we can slightly adjust what's been proposed based on that and only that and follow that through.
So if it's 1% less, you would reduce it by like 1%
We would reduce it accordingly, correct?
in that same percentage.
Right. Right, so the goal would be not to have to take your time again, be that this is a known thing, we're sharing where we're at and then we adjust.
Okay. And just to clarify, the 8.9%, if that were to be locked in, if it did drop 1%, that doesn't, what does that really do to the rate? I mean, it's not dollar for dollar rate. It would be a much smaller reduction. It would have to be significantly less for it to reflect,
Yes,
and that's not likely. Okay, and then my other question, so you commented on the CNG, that actually made me curious. Do we have an approximate estimation of how much of the haulers are using CNG? I mean, what's the
Yeah.
significance of that?
Chair, thank you for another great question. Based on the urban county revenue, about 70%.
Oh, wow, that's high. Okay. 70% of all trucks in the county are using CNG.
In urban specifically, those are the numbers that I ran kind of anticipating this question. But that's looking specifically at urban. I could absolutely look at the bigger picture for you if you'd like and come back to you with that.
No, that's much larger than I would have thought. And where in the breakdown in the attachment 1, where does fuel hit? Is that a truck expense, or how does that factor in? Just out of
Okay.
curiosity.
Yeah, it falls under truck expense.
Okay. And do we know what the impact of the CNG credit is? I mean, is it, I was trying to get some information on it prior to this meeting, but I wasn't able to find like clear, like what does that mean for
Yeah,
the companies?
That's a great question. Give me a minute and I can pull it up.
You asking what the impact is
Yeah,
on the fee increase roughly, or just on individual?
Yeah, if we looked, like, maybe a good way to look at it is if we said, okay, the credits are expiring in 26, I assume that's January 26. Therefore, there's a cost increase. Like, what does that roughly look like across the whole county? Is it significant, or?
Yeah, so for perspective, based on the 35 gallon cart, the $1.55 increase, the fuel makes up 31 cents.
Okay,
Does that help?
that helps a lot. Yeah, it's a really specific amount. Thank you. Thank you. You've done some really good preparation. So then my last question on fuel, just because there's a couple comments really that sort of promote the rationale for increasing the fee. It looks like fuel costs have like dropped over the past several, past maybe 3 years by like 30 or so %. How is that getting reconciled in here anywhere? I mean, when fuel goes up, we talk about it, and that becomes a reason why we increase rates. In my time in this group, I don't think that I've seen where we've talked about fuel coming down and what that means for the rate.
Yeah, oh, go ahead. So the ratepayers have been seeing the benefit of that credit, with the price of CNG because the credit brings it down, right? And so the idea is that now we can supplement that and get that back up, get that cost covered as that credit sunsets. Does that make sense? Maybe Rick has a better way of explaining it.
No, that's it, right? It had been CNG credits that have seen that fall a little bit, and then and it is January 1, 2025 when that credit went away. So
Oh, this year. It went away in 25.
Yeah,
Oh,
it's
okay,
this
thank
year,
you.
that's why we're looking at that.
Okay, thank you for clarifying that. I
Yeah,
misunderstood
so we
that.
anticipate it going up.
Okay. And then just one other, I've probably asked this in the past, but is the projected results, those are calendar year projections, right? Not July to July, but January to December.
Yes,
Okay,
it's a good question.
okay. I don't think I have any other questions. I guess I'll make a statement. I mean, you know, we looked at the survey last time, and one of the comments that was notable to me was someone said, please don't raise our rates. And I know that we, you know, the mission here is to make sure that there's predictable, sustainable waste collection. It would be nice if we could get to a point where rates, oh boy. Excuse me, is it okay if I go off video? Is that acceptable? Or so it doesn't,
Sure.
okay,
Absolutely.
okay, sorry. Goodness, I wasn't expecting that. I guess that's what happens a little after midnight, right? I didn't try and do a pumpkin though. So it would be good that we could get to a point where maybe we had a flat year, especially with the cost increases, but you know, I will say I was kind of looking at what the rate increases have looked like over the past, what you guys had mapped, I think back to 2018. And it does look like there was quite a bit of inflation, you know, in like 22, 23 period. And there might be just some lag to catch up with that inflation. You know, the franchisees have had to digest and manage and work through. So anyway, I'll just sharing that it would, you know, sentiment is it would be great for the residents of the county to get some cost breaks, but you know, I do recognize that I think the franchisees have digested a lot of cost, and that hasn't necessarily popped out in past increases from 22 and the following years. So those are the end of my questions. Anyone else have any questions or comments? Okay. So we have 3 options. Would anyone care to make a motion on one of those options, or possibly, I guess, a 4th option would be option 3, but do we have any motions?
Option 2, to increase the fee per car container drop boxes proposed July 2025 to the franchisees to within the acceptable range of 8 to 12%.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion for option 1 to increase the I'm sorry, excuse me. That was option 2, right?
Correct.
Something that you made. Okay, thank you. So we have a motion for option 2, increase fees per carton container drop box proposed effective July 1, and seconded. All in favor for motion 2? My hand is up for the record. Oh, I guess I can gesture. I'm struggling to do. So all opposed? Any opposed? Okay, so it looks like from what I'm seeing, unanimous in support of option 2.
Okay. Well, thank you, commissioners. I think now we can move to the secondary transfer station conversation. And then do public comment altogether at the end. Does that sound okay, Chair?
Yeah, I think that's the flow we're on.
Okay.
So over to Rick for the Sandy.
It's gonna be another riveting and exciting presentation for everybody. Refreshments will be served. Let's see how we do. So for those that don't know, we do have a little transfer station sitting outside of Sandy, about 1.5 miles east of Sandy, that takes in about 30,000 vehicles a year, roughly a couple thousand a month, and handles about 6,000 tons. The majority, really all of the customers, we have no commercial vehicles going in there, and when commercial franchisees, going in there. There are contractors and that sort of thing that use the facility. But it's essentially a Dropbox kind of situation that homeowner backs up their trailer sometimes well, sometimes not so well, and then they dump into a Dropbox and that material is delivered to a landfill from there. So like I said, 30,000 trips, about 6,000 tons, about 400 plus pounds for the average trip coming into there. The last time we did an increase out at the transfer station was in effective July 2023. The increases that we're proposing today are, from about 30 cents to $2.80 on the kind of all of those materials that make up about 65% of that at the facility. So there were some other increases requested that we said no, we just went with these, and so these were accepted. And the company at the same time, the company is making some improvements to the site. There's some challenges they've been hauling kind of double drop boxes out of there, and was fine because a lot of that was going regionally in the area, but now they've been delivering the opportunities regionally for disposal kind of gone away, and so they are taking those materials directly out to Arlington instead of doing a transfer. The less times you handle material with that, right? So they're taking that material in a larger truck out there. So we hope to see some efficiencies and coming along. So with those changes. So we think these increases are reasonable. It's been a couple of years. They seem, right, given what the revenues are and the expenses are, labor expenses going up, that sort of thing. So we're pretty comfortable with recommending that we look at this increase. If you have any questions? Nope.
Oh, you're on mute, Chad.
Thank you. Just as you said that, I got a little warning from Zoom here. Okay, Rick, I had a question. What's the definition of light waste versus heavy waste? How are those?
Mr. Chair, good question. Lightweight, we kind of consider household, just regular household garbage and that sort of thing. And the heavier waste is demolition and kind of waste, sometimes concrete, sometimes it's, wood and different things. So kind of asphalt, things like that are heavier in nature.
Okay. Thank you. I don't think I have any other questions. Any other questions in the group, or is it similar options 1, 2, and 3 for this set of fees as well? So if no other questions, if someone wants to make a motion.
I'll make a motion to go with the proposed rate for the transfer station.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, we have a motion to increase the fees for the transfer station and seconded. All in favor? Okay, any opposed? All right. We've captured that vote. And then on to our next item, public comment. I think we had some discussion.
Yeah, thank you. So since we have folks on Zoom and we have folks in the room, we're gonna start in the room and then alternate. We've allowed about 20 minutes for this. So it's based on folks, if they want to participate. If you're on Zoom, you can use the raise hand button to indicate that you'd like to make a comment. And then if you're joining us on a phone, you can also hit *9, which then lets us know that you have a hand raised. So if folks on Zoom wanna go ahead and indicate if they'd like to speak, that would be helpful, so we can set the limit for how long folks can speak, just so that we can make sure we can get to everyone. Does anybody on Zoom want to speak? Or get in line to speak, rather? Okay, seeing none, we will move forward with public comment from the floor. Does that sound good, Chair?
Yes. If anyone in the room wants to make public comment, please do. And I see a hand up.
Please, Beth.
All right, I understand I have 20 minutes.
When you said that, I'm really concerned.
I kept on quickly over here. So I have a written statement and I'll just read and then take it from there. So good afternoon, members of the commission. I'm Beth Vargas Duncan, the regional director for Oregon Refuse and Recycling Association, and today I am representing the Clackamas County Refuse and Recycling Association. Our members provide solid waste and recycling collection services for Clackamas County. Every Clackamas County hauler providing garbage and recycling collection service is a member of CCRRA, that's the acronym. Clackamas County Refuse and Recycling Association. Several of the CCRA members are family companies, which is a point of pride in our industry. CCRA members are committed to their service to the people of Clackamas County and to meeting rigorous standards for health and safety. The commitment has been seen and felt during extreme events such as our ice storms and wildfires. We are committed to our partnership with the county and this commission. Together, we have built an efficient and progressive franchise waste collection program that assures that residents in the county have access to desired services no matter where they live. CCRA's work reflects shared values with the communities we serve, including equity and environmental protections and providing quality service to all residents at a reasonable cost. This brings me to the topic for today, rate review. As you know, CCRA members are highly regulated by the county, and each year we engage in a robust rate review process, which we support and is important for the integrity of the franchise system. And so the people of Clackamas County know they are getting a service at a rate that is fair. Through this process, CCRA, the county's garbage and recycling service haulers, work cooperatively with the county, providing highly detailed financial information. The county's rate consultant reviewed the financial information and rates to determine the cost of service and projecting known and measurable costs for the coming year. Metro's kind of known right now, as we discussed. The haulers and county staff collectively discuss the calculations and projections, ensuring accuracy for both the haulers and the ratepayers. And Metro's costs will be known after May 15th, when they're anticipated to vote on that. CCRA believes the rate review and the rate setting process is fair with the right balance of independent review and transparency to assure reasonable rates for the haulers for their service and Clackamas County customers that we serve. In conclusion, regardless of the challenges confronting us, whether it's a global pandemic or smoke-filled fires, over the decades, CCRA members have consistently worked in collaboration with the county and our stakeholders to efficiently and effectively address challenges with sustainable results. We ask that the Solid Waste Commission recommend, which thank you, recommend to the County Board of Commissioners to adopt the rates as presented by Clackamas County staff. We look forward to partnering further in the future, and CCRA appreciates the opportunity to serve Clackamas County. I'm available to answer any questions, but here are, I would like to list all the members of CCRA. Arrow Sanitary Service, Waste Connections, B&D Leasing Company, Bliss Sanitary Service, Canby Disposal Company, Waste Connections, Clackamas Garbage Company, Hoodview Disposal and Recycling, Waste Connections, Recology Clackamas, Republic Services, WM, formerly or otherwise known as Waste Management, and Westland Refuse and Recycling, Waste Connections. Happy to answer any questions.
Do you have any other public comment?
Okay, I see no questions in the room or I don't see anything on the attendee list. Thank you for your recommendation. I think we can move on from public comment at this point. Next item was administrative rules update.
This is gonna be short, Mr. Chair. So since we last delivered you, I think the rules at the last meeting, we have not had any conversations with the collectors. We've been this other business and so I'm anticipating some things have kind of been on hold. We certainly would entertain if you know, take a look at those rules and have some observations or things you'd like to share, you know, feel free to reach out to any of us here on staff or reach out to me. That would be great. So we'd like to kind of get those, we'll work on those over the summer and in that September meeting that Kate's talking about, bring those back for a decision. And those, the rules, I think, as I said last time, they can be signed by our director. They don't need to go through the board process, but and you know, but we think it's important to bring it through this process. Have your input, and eyes on it. You know, with any of those things, it's always the more eyes, the better. Sometimes. But no, we do appreciate that. So that's where we are on the rules. And actually, this next, if you'll indulge me, I think I'll go in just right into the next update, Mr. Chair.
That's fine.
All right, so you know, with this, the Recycling Modernization Act, I think we've talked about a couple times, but with that, there might be some new rules, you know, that we'll have to put in place that will coincide with that, and maybe we'll know what those are by the time, you know, this all comes together, or we might have to go and amend in the coming year, but either way, you know, we'll take those opportunities as they come. So the Recycling Modernization Act, just as a reminder, was a piece of legislation that passed in 2021. Since that time, since it passed, the DEQ has been working real hard at making administrative rules and doing, you know, that the kind of all the hard work of that. This is a EPR program, or an extended producer responsibility program. So the businesses that make packaging and paper products they're the ones that are gonna help pay for the system going forward, and parts of the system, not all of the system. One of the key, so there's several components that go along with this program. There's a unified statewide collection list, and so that will be so there's a unified list that's collected curbside throughout the state. So there are a lot of places in the rest of the state that don't have the benefit of the robust collection system that we have here in the metro region, Lane County, Deschutes County, and Marion County. So that's the whole point of this, kind of one of the points of this is to bring everybody up to that potential. Along with that, there's a system expansion piece. So as I said, there are a lot of these communities outside of this area that don't have any curbside collection, and so this PRO, the Producer Responsibility Organization, you know, that is the nonprofit organization that's working with the brand owners that make those products too. They are working, they be distributing funds to help those companies expand, and those communities expand. We have one little pocket, one area up on the mountain that we will probably be looking at doing some expansion and some enhancement of the collection system up there. So there's a lot of work to do on that, but it's you know, should be coming here in the next couple of years. One of the other pieces of the program that's really important is contamination reduction, and there is some funding for that. contamination reduction is. In statute is at $3 per capita. That's a pretty good amount of money when you put that all together for the county. And so we have been working with the cities in the area. Cities within the county, we have agreements with all of the cities to carry out their education and promotion for our other DEQ responsibilities, the Opportunity to Recycle Act. And so we will, we have gone through a process with all of those cities where they have authorized the county to receive funding on their behalf and to do that work on their behalf. So so there's a lot of work to do. We're still trying to, we still have a lot of questions. We're beginning to work and talk to some contractors about different things. So there are a lot of different ways that we can get to contamination reduction and different schemes that we could try. A little more than just outreach, so we'll be bringing those forward to you as we get a little more information and know what's going on. Another really key component of this legislation was responsible end markets. The system for a long time, well, since the beginning, when we were collecting for materials, you know, we relied on existing commodity markets to take the materials that were collected from Main Street, not just the industry, you know, so paper and metal and glass, and cardboard, another big one. So all of those had, you know, commodity, market-based collection systems, and the material recovery facilities that we started working with when we started doing curbside programs were already plugged into those markets. Well, when we started adding new materials, those those material recovery facilities still behaved in rational manner, took that material, tried to move it into markets that then, you know, you've seen some change. One of the big changes, of course, was the China sword. They call, you know, when China decided, hey, you know, they did some things, they were able to say, oh, we can take all of that material. And when we put everything in the bin, people were like, oh, well, this has an arrow on it, we'll throw it in the bin, and we could collect that up. These entities taking the material from our curb, they said they're behaving rationally in a marketplace economy. They said, sure, here you go. And you know, how much material, and then, you know, China said, oh, just kidding, stop. So it changed a lot of things, also brought a lot of, you know, attention to that issue. And that's kind of what brought us to this point. So having the recycling or responsible end markets is going to, so there are a lot of criteria on inbound and outbound material, primarily that outbound material. And there's a strict kind of government overreach on, or government regulation on, you know, what that material needs to look like. If it's paper bale, it needs to be paper. If it's plastic bale, it needs to be plastic. Can't be a paper bale with 30% plastic in it. Right? Can't happen. So that's, you know, I think that's a real positive thing that is coming out of this. And again, you know, everybody's behaving rationally, just that. So that's where, but we weren't getting the outcomes that we desired, you know, from a public policy standpoint. That's when you have regulation. So we learned today, so that the materials that DEQ has been working on, this responsible end market searches. There's still a lot of questions about that, and it's still going. So we're still working on that. We learned today that they'll probably be working on that for another couple, possibly another couple years, doing some preliminarily finding markets that are there. All the materials that are in the USCL, you know, the Unified Statewide Collection List, all of those materials do have, and most of them are and have been, you know, places where they've been going for a long time successfully. So that's good, you know, so that's good news. For us, the USCL list is we're not gonna see a bunch of change in our materials at all, so we won't see A lot of this will be happening kind of behind the scenes for most, for most homeowners. So the next steps for us, is entering into funding agreements with this producer responsibility organization so that we can get reimbursed for some of the activities that we're doing that meet the criteria in the law. And also kind of begin planning our contamination reduction strategies and see where we're gonna go with that. There's a lot of conversations, but throughout the region on this. So that's kind of where we are now. Tennille's been active in this search as well. So if I missed anything, please. Okay.
You mentioned there's like a $3 per capita cities. What about people outside of city limits? Is there any like compensation for the county to?
Yeah, it's $3 per capita for unincorporated counties and cities. Yeah. So it's interesting because Clackamas County list. If you look at a list of cities, like Washington County, and they're the second. It's Portland, Washington County, Clackamas County as far as population in total. So that's it for me, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you. Any questions? Any other questions, I should say? Okay, so that brings us to just general updates. Do we have any other staff updates? Or updates from staff?
I personally don't have any additional updates. Tennille, do you have any additional updates? I don't think we have any additional updates this time.
Okay, is it, in addition to our developing agenda for the September meeting, is it possible to revisit the Recycling Plus program for outside urban zones?
Sure.
And maybe if if that update is no change or no foreseeable change, we can have a discussion about alternatives. Again, I mean, I know that at the time when we made that decision around 2 years ago, or maybe it was 3, there was a commitment that we would, our franchisees would provide similar kind of a service. And I think we're kind of stuck at urban, and I'm just curious if, folks like me that live out beyond urban, if we're ever going to have an alternative that could grant curbside pickup for those additional items.
Yeah, thank you. We can definitely add that to the agenda September.
Okay. Does anyone else?
You haven't
Right.
set a date yet. It's a good question.
Okay. Does anyone else have any updates before we proceed to closure? See a hand up?
I don't know if this is an update,
Chris.
but I know some of you are, but some of you might not be aware that the Master Recycler program has gone from in-person to COVID, who knows what that was. And I think they went back to in-person, 3 classes per county, but just this year, Stacy Luddington with Metro has gone to an every month video training type thing about various parts of the process. And then Master Recyclers, either those who are taking this training for the first time, or for those of us who, I mean, so much has changed in the 12 years, it's like, what are you talking about? But it might be helpful if you were to give members of the commission and anybody else that's interested, talk to Stacy, obviously, but to give links or passwords or whatever it takes to watch that, or to go back, they're all archived, to go back and get that information. I don't know that decomposition rot changes a lot. Since it's been here since the world started, and I'm not certain that people care that much about, saving food and cost of food and the waste that we have in that part of our lives. But some of these upcoming ones are about the recycling modernization and concepts that if you just don't stay on top of them, you know, it's hard for me as a master recycler to go try and train people when poof, new materials, new concepts, new laws, and I'm fortunate in knowing how to read laws and regulations, but it's been growing, I think, over the last 3 or 4 or 5 years perhaps. And I mean, I'm keeping up with, you know, what you're talking about elsewhere, but if you're not immersed in it every day, it's really difficult. Like this US whatever, I never heard of that before, and that's something I'll read up on, but I doubt that Stacy will put that in the training. But it's a really good way, and because it's memorialized, you know, you can go back and refresh when you have forgotten the concept, or knowing that it's just gonna change in another 2 or 3 years, but for some brief span of time, there will be current information that you can use for your own advantage or to pass along to others.
That sounds good. Okay, any other comments? If not, I guess I'll go ahead and make a motion to adjourn for the day. For a second,
For a second.
okay. Thank you, everyone. Have a wonderful rest of your Thursday afternoon.
Go get some sleep, Mr. Chair.
Yeah.
I will.
Thank you.
We'll look forward to seeing you in September.
See you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for
Take care.
joining us, Will.
Yeah, I heard George